Hey guys, Johnny here at Don't Speak News. Before we get started with the news, I wanted to touch base on Telegram real quick. I don't do private conversations on Telegram. I know a couple of you tried to message me through there, or at least you said you did in the comments, and then I blocked you. Well, I automatically do that because 99.9% of the time, it's a spam bot, a porn bot, or an AI bot of some kind. And so I don't do private conversations pretty much anywhere. The only place I will conversate with you is through the email over at Proton Mail. Don't Speak News at Proton Mail. And that's the only way. I don't do private chats in Telegram, Messenger, or anywhere else. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get to the news at hand. All right. From 404 News, 404media.co, pretty good website if you're not familiar with it. They're talking here about a license plate reading company, Flock, and it's building a massive people lookup tool, according to this leak that came out. So we'll get into it like we always do. And this is from their marketing material here, the Flock marketing material. And so Flock, the automatic license plate reading company, whose cameras are installed in more than 5,000 communities in the U.S., including here in Spokane, is building a product that will use people lookup tools, data brokers, and get this, data breaches. So in other words, you know, um, data breaches are materials that hackers have stolen and put on the dark web. Well, since they're out there, these guys are going to use it. And they're going to use it to jump from license plate reading to the person, allowing police to much more easily identify and track the movements of specific people around the country without a warrant, a court order, according to Eternal Flock presentation slides, Slack chats, and meeting audio obtained by 404 Media. So the news turns Flock, already a controversial technology, into a much more invasive tool, potentially able to link a vehicle passing by a camera to its owner, and then more people connected to them. So it's a track and trace system is really what it is. And that's through marriage or other associations. So the new product development also led to Flock employees questioning the ethics of using, get this, hacked data as part of their surveillance project. So this was illegally obtained data. We hear about these data breaches at AT&T and all these other big companies all the time, even though they promise time and again to protect our stuff, right? Protect our data. But they don't. They could care less. They just want to sell it. And if it gets out, oops, sorry about that, our bad. And nobody really goes to jail, and they might pay some fines, and that's it. But this new product development has also led to Flock employees questioning their ethics, as I just said, right? And then Flock told 404 Media the tool is already being used by some law enforcement agencies in an early access program. So what is this product? Well, it's called Nova. And it will supplement license plate data with a wealth of personal information sourced from other companies and the wider web, according to the material obtained by 404 Media. It's just going to be everything about you, like I've said for years, everything about you that's going to be in the cloud. And as soon as somebody scans you with their new scanners they're going to have, which they probably already have, they'll be able to look up anything they want about you, whether it's whether they run your license plate, whether they stop you in the street and scan your forehead, right? They were prepping us for that 5 years ago, weren't they? Just saying. You're going to be able to access data and jump from LPR to person and understand what that context is and link to other people that are related to that person, marriage or through gang affiliation, etc. A Flock employee said during an internal company meeting, according to an audio recording. That's very powerful linking, one Slack message said, that Nova supports 20 different data sources that agencies can toggle on or off. And then Flock sells its ALPR cameras to communities, homeowners associations, schools, and businesses with the promise of solving crime and deterring criminals. That's how they got Ring into just about every home in Spokane. I mean, I see them everywhere. So communities can then opt to share their cameras data with law enforcement, which most people do. And law enforcement agencies purchase their own Flock cameras too, right? They purchase their own. And the cameras continuously record the plates, color, and make of vehicles passing in front of them and store a timestamp of when, where, and each vehicle was spotted. Flock is also expanded into drones and gunshot detection. Nova will make the product even more invasive, experts say. And Flock has hundreds of customers, both law enforcement and private residents. This development will certainly help to bring expanded surveillance powers to police departments of all sizes that never needed this much information on any random person who happens to drive by. That's Beryl Lipton, senior investigative researcher at activist organization, the Electronic Frontier Foundation. So in the meeting audio obtained by 404 Media, the Flock employee described the sorts of information the company will supplement ALPR data with. The first is data breaches, that are legally obtained. I mean, unreal. One example the employee pointed to is a 2021 data breach impacting users of Park Mobile, an app that allows users to pay for parking without physically going to the parking meter, or in some lots where meters no longer exist. So that data included license plate numbers with their owners' associated email addresses, phone numbers, and in some cases, mailing addresses. With regards to Flock, Nova ingests that and is able to use that to contextualize the data. So now we're able to make that cognitive leap from LPR to person. And that's the thing, guys. They don't even have to get a warrant to access this information for law enforcement. Over the last several years, more surveillance and technology companies have packaged stolen or hacked data and then sold access to that information to law enforcement. The practice raises questions around the ethics of reusing such data for surveillance purposes, the legality of doing so, not that they care about that really, and the chain of custody of that information, if it was ever used as part of a criminal investigation. So the second was commercially available data, with the employee explicitly naming credit bureaus, Equifax, and TransUnion. As 404 Media has reported, when people open a credit card, their personal information is sent to the credit bureaus and their role is monitoring people's credit. Some bureaus then repackage it and sell this information to law enforcement or other data brokers. So, yeah, and they're not commenting on it either. So I'm just saying, guys, everything from our vehicles to our bank accounts to our relatives to our spouses and children are all going to be hooked together. Our car, from our license plate numbers to us, to everyone that's affiliated with us or related to us. It's all going to be intertwined in their cloud. And then we have this. DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, right? They're going to cut out all this waste, fraud, and abuse. Bullshit. All of it. Complete BS. As their data panopticon pales compared to what's next. Well, Johnny, what's a panopticon? Well, I didn't know either, so I looked it up. Here it is. The panopticon is a design of institutional building with an inbuilt system of control originated by the English philosopher and social theorist Jeremy Bentham in the 18th century. The concept is to allow all prisoners of an institution to be observed by a single corrections officer without the inmates knowing whether or not they are being watched. So they're calling this data a prison, and it pales compared to what's coming next. If state governments surrender their data sets, there's no telling how this could be abused. Well, they're going to abuse it in every which way they can, of course. So here we go. For the first time in American history, the federal government appears to be assembling a single, unified database on all of its citizens. As reported by Wired, the Washington Post, and The Atlantic, DOGE is building an unprecedented database on all Americans, a panopticon of data. By combining records on everything from Social Security to tax records to biometric data in a singular AI-enabled hub, the government is creating a sophisticated tool for domestic surveillance, something that previously both parties would have considered unacceptable and illegal. Still, this threat pales in comparison to what may be coming next. While federal agencies hold a wide spectrum of information on citizens, state governments are the keepers of even more granular, specific data on Americans, including sensitive personal information. Data on everything from student education records to DMV files to voter history to sexual orientation and gender identity to data on abortion and other medical history. All of that is collected and managed at the state level, not in D.C. Now, the White House aims to coerce states into handing over their data with the undeniable potential that it too will be added to DOGE's growing centralized database. Of course it will. If states acquiesce to this pressure, which most of them will, otherwise they'll just cut off the funding to the states, There is almost no telling what this information about their citizens could eventually be used for. But once states hand over this information about their residents, there's no taking it back. No, there isn't. So why and how the federal government is demanding state data? In the March 20th executive order, once again, ruling by decree, right? The president demanded that the agency head shall take all necessary steps to the maximum extent consistent with law to ensure the government has unfettered access to comprehensive data from all state programs that receive federal funding. Like I said, they'll just pull the funding if you don't comply, including, as appropriate, data generated by those programs but maintained in third-party databases. A huge proportion of state programs receive federal funding in some way. The White House wants states to hand over basically all such data or risk losing access to taxpayer funds. Yeah. Completely unconstitutional, but they're doing it. They've done it for years. I remember the first time in my lifetime that I can remember the federal government doing that to states was when Reagan changed the drinking law to 21. And if states wouldn't comply, then they'd lose all their highway funds, and they couldn't afford that. So they all complied. That's how that worked. And that's how they're doing it. That's how they've done it ever since, at least in my lifetime. So this is already in motion as federal agencies act on the executive order's sweeping mandate. For example, the USDA is demanding access to state data sets on SNAP beneficiaries, including personal information such as date of birth, personal addresses used, and social security numbers. There's no danger in all that leaking out, is there? No. I mean, it's all out there anyway, but it's just the idea. So, as NPR reported, not only has USDA made its demands of states directly, but it has pressured Fidelity Information Services, a vendor for SNAP electronic benefit transmission transactions, to turn over any of the relevant data it holds, effectively an end run around states. After the USDA published its FNS data sharing guidance on May 6, FIS notified states that it would fully cooperate with the USDA's demands and gave states until May 14th to provide their written consent. The clock is now ticking for states who contract with FIS, and especially all the residents who have participated in SNAP since 2020 whose sensitive data is under threat. And I'll let you read the rest on your own. But this, you can see where it's leading, right? A registry to track people with autism or different disabilities. School-based targeting on political grounds. Location tracking data based on real-time license plate locations, as we just got done showing you here, right? Gender identity or sexual orientation lists. Much more sophisticated voter suppression efforts because states, not the government, hold voter data. Centralized or coordinated voter targeting and suppression efforts at the federal level would be difficult. That's why getting access to state voter data has long been and continues to be a priority for President Trump. And so, like I said, I'll let you read the rest on your own. I think you get the idea. They're centralizing absolutely everything. And that's what DOGE is here to do. It's not here to root out all this fraud, waste, and abuse. They could care less about that, the billionaires. They don't pay taxes anyway. So all they want is all the data to suck up into their big AI systems. So they can keep track on all of us at all times, 24/7. They can already do that with people that have had the you-know-what shots, the jabs. But they can't do that so much with people who haven't. So that's why they need all this other technology and all of your information sucked into it so they can keep track on everybody at all times, 24/7. And that's what all this has been about. Wow. It's coming up, guys. It's all here. The system is in place. They're just putting the last touches on it. Are you ready? Do you have Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? Because He is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one gets to the Father but through Him. Make Him your Lord and Savior today while there's still time, because time is running out very quickly. All right. That will be it for now. If you want to support us, here's the channel support tab at don'tspeaknews.com. And like I said before, we've got about 4 days to raise some funds for all the utilities so we don't get things shut off on us on the 19th. So to support us, click the tab there, and all the links to support us are right here. And then if you want to subscribe and get notified every time I put up a new video, posting, what have you, type in your email here, click on subscribe. This is at the bottom of every article, and you'll get one pop-up as you're reading an article, and that's it. And to contact me, it's don'tspeaknews@protonmail. And that will be it for now. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.